All right, let's dive into one of history's most chilling stories of betrayal. We're talking about the assassination of Julius Caesar, a man who one day walked into a room full of friends and, well, he never walked out.
It all boils down to a single date. In Latin, they called it Ides Marcia. But you and I, we know it as the Ides of March. And that phrase, it's become a timeless shorthand for betrayal, hasn't it? All because of what happened on this one day.
So picture this. You have Julius Caesar, right? He's a legendary general, a brilliant politician, literally the most powerful man in Rome at the absolute peak of his game. He strolls into the Senate, the very heart of Roman government. Now, you'd think this is the one place on earth he'd be safe, but get this. He walks in totally alone. No guards, no weapons, completely unarmed.
And it's not like he was walking into a den of his enemies. Nope. The room was filled with about 60 men he considered his peers, his colleagues, his friends. These were guys he'd promoted, guys he'd pardoned in war, men he'd literally fought alongside for years. He trusted them. And just minutes later, it was all over. The final count? 23 stab wounds. But honestly, the story here isn't just about the brutal act itself. It's about the why. Why did this happen?
And that's really the central question we're going to unpack today. See, Caesar wasn't naive. He actually knew a plot against him existed. He'd even been warned. So why did he go? Why on earth would he make himself so vulnerable? To figure that out, we've got to understand who this guy really was.
So let's talk about Rome's most dangerous man. Because to really get why he walked straight into that trap, you have to understand the man he'd become. By 44 BC, Caesar wasn't just some politician. He had basically reshaped the entire Roman world, and in the process, he painted a giant target on his own back.
I mean, after conquering Gaul and winning a brutal civil war, the Senate named him dictator for life. Just think about that title for a second. Dictator for life. That was completely unheard of. He had more power than any single Roman in history. And that single act basically ended the whole system of group rule that had defined the Republic for hundreds of years.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem in Rome. Was he a hero or was he a king? To your average Roman citizen, he was an absolute hero. He conquered new lands, he brought stability, they loved him. But to the old school senators, the traditional elite, he was acting like a king. And you have to understand, for Romans who had kicked out their last king 500 years earlier, king was basically the worst four-letter word in politics. They hated it.
So all of this political tension, it really sets the stage for what becomes a super personal betrayal. This wasn't just about laws and power. It was about friendships. It was about trust. It was about Brutus.
The whole conspiracy was really kicked off by a senator named Cassius. He was the main instigator, the driving force. He was absolutely convinced that Caesar's ambition was like a disease, a cancer, growing on the Republic. And in his mind, there was only one cure: assassination. But Cassius was smart. He knew he couldn't pull this off by himself. He knew that for this whole thing to work, they needed one guy more than anyone else: Marcus Junius Brutus. See, Brutus was this widely respected, honorable senator. But here's the kicker. Caesar absolutely loved the guy. He trusted him, treated him like his own son. Getting Brutus on their side gave the whole conspiracy a look of legitimacy. It wasn't just a back alley murder anymore. It was now a noble act to save Rome.
And that's exactly how they justified it to themselves. This wasn't murder, you see. It was saving Rome. This was their whole argument. They framed the assassination not as a personal betrayal, but as a patriotic duty. They truly convinced themselves that killing this one man, even if he was a friend, was the only way to save the very soul of the Republic.
Okay, so the plot is set. The conspirators are ready. All they need now is the perfect moment. But here's where it gets wild. As the Ides of March got closer, it was like the universe itself was sending up flares, just screaming at Caesar to stay home.
You've got this countdown to fate. First up, there's that famous omen from a prophet who publicly tells Caesar to beware the Ides of March. Caesar, he pretty much just laughs it off. Okay, warning number one, ignored. Then, the night before, his own wife, Calpurnia, has this horrifying dream that he's covered in blood, that he's been murdered. She begs him, please don't go to the Senate tomorrow. And this one actually makes him hesitate. But just as he's thinking about it, one of the conspirators, a guy named Decimus, shows up at his door. And he plays Caesar perfectly. He basically says, you're gonna look like a total coward if you stay home because of your wife's bad dream. He appeals right to his pride.
And that was it. That was the moment. He hesitated, but he chose to go.
Torn between these dark warnings and his own public image, he made the fatal choice. He went to the Senate. He walked right into the trap.
So, now we come to the fatal mistake. And I'm not just talking about Caesar's mistake. What happens next isn't just an assassination. It was a massive, world-changing miscalculation by the very men holding the daggers.
So inside the Senate, the conspirators close in around him. They pretend they're just giving him a petition to look at. Then, a signal is given. One of them pulls his toga down and the attack begins. The first dagger is drawn. The first blow strikes. Now remember, Caesar is a tough general. His first instinct is to fight back, and he does.
But then, through all the chaos and the shouting, he sees him. He sees Brutus, and Brutus has a dagger in his hand. The ancient historians say that when Caesar saw the face of the man he loved like a son among his attackers, he just whispered, "Et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus?" And at that very moment, he stopped fighting. He just pulled his toga over his head and accepted it.
With Caesar lying dead, the killers stand up. They raise their bloody daggers and they shout, "Liberty! Freedom! The Republic is saved!" They honestly, genuinely believed that the people of Rome would rush into the streets and carry them on their shoulders, celebrating them as heroes. They could not have possibly been more wrong. So let's talk about the real consequences, because this is where the irony just gets staggering. The Roman people weren't celebratory. They were horrified. Then Caesar's will is read out loud, and it turns out he left a bunch of money to every single citizen in Rome. Well, that turned the public completely against the assassins. So instead of saving the Republic, they plunged Rome into another, even bloodier, civil war. The end result? The Republic they killed Caesar to protect was destroyed forever. And out of all that chaos, the Roman Empire was born.
And that's really the punchline to this whole tragic story. The men who stabbed Caesar to protect the Republic were the very ones who ended up destroying it. In trying to stop one man from becoming a king, they accidentally paved the way for an entire empire ruled by, well, emperors.
Which leaves us with this incredible, mind-bending question to think about. What if Caesar had listened to just one of those warnings? What if he just listened to his wife and stayed home that day? A single different decision, and the entire course of Western civilization could have changed. Just think about it. The Roman Empire might never have existed, all because of a bad dream.